Hey boys and girls, this is Mrs. Askins and I'm bringing you your science lesson. This week we'll be talking about interdependence, learning about that. So what is interdependence? It is a beneficial or helpful relationship between two or more organisms. Interdependence happens in every single environment, whether it's prairie, a desert, ocean, lake, and there's many more, every kind you can think of. These relationships are between animals and plants, and then plants and animals also. So how do plants and animals and their environment depend on each other? That's what we're going to learn about today. Plants and animals are called organisms. Well, what are organisms? Well, an organism is any living thing. Living things have basic needs that must be met in order for them to survive. And so we're going to talk about what are the basic needs of plants. Well, in order to survive, plants need air, they need water, nutrients, and light. So what are the basic needs of animals? Well, in order to survive, animals need air, water, food, and shelter. Living things can only survive in environments where their needs can be met. Can you think of some non-living parts of the environment that help living things survive? Well, here are 4 of them. We have air, water, soil, and rocks. Plants, animals, and their environment all depend on each other to grow and to survive. So here we see that how do animals use plants? Well, here we see a deer that lives in the forest, and a woodpecker that lives in a tree that he's put a hole in, and he will nest there. And then rabbits depend on the ground. They dig burrows. Animals use plants for food, for shelter, for protection. How do animals use plants for food? Well, some animals eat seeds, some animals eat grass, some animals eat berries, some eat leaves, others eat fruit, and some animals even eat tree bark, as you can see from all these different pictures. How can animals use plants for shelter? Well, this black bear will use the large hole in the tree to hibernate. And beavers use trees and grass and branches to build a dam. And caterpillars have created a nest in the tree branches. Animals use plants for protection by nesting among spikes and thorns in plants and trees. And can you see this walking stick bug? See, it's looking exactly like the part of the tree, so that's its camouflage. So that's how it uses a plant. How do animals use other animals? Well, animals use other animals for food as a source of energy called the food chain. Food chains are present in all environments. And here we see a bear eating probably salmon, but a fish. We have a hawk that's eating fish. And this guy has caught a huge tuna that he'll probably eat. And the frog is eating insect, and the spider also has an insect that he's going to eat in his web. Can you think of any ways that plants depend on animals? Well, bees carry pollen from flowers, which helps to create new flowers. Animals take seeds to new places that will grow into new plants. And animals exhale carbon dioxide. Plants need this to make their food. The environment that plants and animals live in is also an important part of their survival. So they all need soil, they need air, they need water, and they need rocks. How do animals use soil? Well, animals use dirt and soil to create their homes. Some animals live in nests. They've built these out of dirt. And some animals dig burrows. Some animals live in the ground or make hills, and other animals live in the ground. How do plants use soil? Well, plants use soil for support while they're growing, and plants use the nutrients in the soil to grow big and tall. So how do animals and plants use air and water? Well, animals use air for flying and breathing, and plants use carbon dioxide that animals breathe out into the air to help make their own food during photosynthesis. Animals use water for drinking, for swimming, and for bathing. But plants take in water through their roots and use it during photosynthesis so it can grow. Can you think of any ways that plants and animals can use rocks? Well, animals use rocks to create homes for their protection from other animals. When rocks erode and break down into tiny pieces, plants will use the nutrients they leave in the soil. How many plant, animal, and their environment relationships can you find in this picture? Well, we see a frog who's eating an insect that's on a plant, and insects lots of times eat plants and smaller bugs. We see water down here, and we know that the fish are living in there, frogs live in there, tadpoles, all different, even snakes. And we see trees that a lot of them eat, and other vegetation. And the trees have to have the dirt to grow. And how many plant, animal, and their environment relationships can you find in this picture? Well, if you look right here, here's a raccoon that's living in a rock, in like a little den, and we have mosses and grasses and plants that need the dirt for support, and also animals eat those things because they grow berries and they eat grass. Rabbits like to eat grass. So do deer. Well, this is why our environment is important, because how do dolphins need fish? What would happen if there were no fish in the ocean? What would they eat? Another instance is, how does this link depend on rabbits? Well, it eats the rabbit. It's part of the food chain. What would happen if there were no rabbits left in its habitat? It wouldn't have anything to eat. How does this lion depend on zebras? Well, it's part of the food chain also. What would happen if there were no zebras left in this habitat? Habitats are very important. How do bats depend on mosquitoes? Did you know a bat will eat 600 mosquitoes in a minute? So what would happen if there were no mosquitoes? Plants depend on insects and other bugs to pollinate. Plants need insects in order to make fruits and vegetables. So that's why that is so important. And sometimes plants don't depend on insects and animals for just pollination. Sometimes the insects live on plants in order to eat the pests that damage the plant. Without this butterfly and other insects, these strawberries would not have any fruit. So that's how the butterfly, one way a butterfly helps the habitat in our nature. So after birds have eaten fruits and seeds from a tree or any other type of plant, and their bodies have processed the food, the birds get rid of the seed, moving it from one place to another. So you can see it is very important to take care of our environment. I hope you enjoyed learning about interdependency. Thank you. We'll see you next week.